What else do we know about kings as Americans? We know historically what some responsibilities are of kings. We know that they're responsible to not just take over the land, but then they have to take care of the land. They have to provide for the needs of the people. They have to protect them from enemies from their people. They have to be judges whenever there's disputes. King David did all of these things. As soon as he was crowned king in 2 Samuel, King David built the city up to take care of the people. He built the city of David. He provided for their needs. And then as soon as the Philistines heard that King David had been crowned, then they decided they were going to come attack. And then King David was called to protect his people. And they did. He did. He protected his people from the Philistines and from many other people that were coming at different times to take over his kingdom. And he even was called to be judge over disputes. In 2 Samuel 14, there is a woman who comes to him, and he's called King David to rule over this dispute and to say what's right and what's wrong and what needs to happen from then. Kings have responsibilities to provide, to protect, to be judge. But in history, we know, no matter what a king is called, that they tend to not be perfect. That saying, absolute power corrupts absolutely. Whenever we get a little bit of power in our hands, we start thinking, what can we do with that? If we were to win the lottery, what are we going to do with the lottery? If we were king over our whole life and could make up all the rules, what would we do with all of that power? King David, too, also, in 2 Samuel 11, sees another man's wife, and he would like to have her, and he has the power to get her. And so he takes that man's wife to be his, and she conceives. And then he has to decide what to do with her husband. And he sends her husband out into mortal danger, into the field, into battle, and he dies. And the whole country suffers. The whole kingdom suffers for something that maybe today we would call that, oh, that's just his personal issues. You know, that's private. What King David did, having an affair, is just private. The whole kingdom suffered for what King David did. No king is perfect. Not one of us. Whether we're a king or we're an elected leader or whether we're a religious leader or whether we're a celebrity or somebody that we look up to, nobody that we look up to here on earth can live up to those perfect expectations, and certainly not when they're given absolute power and authority. But Jeremiah was a prophet in the Old Testament, a prophet of the good King Josiah, and he said, "The days are coming when the Lord declares that I will raise up to David a righteous branch, a king who will reign wisely. In his days Judah will be saved, and Israel will live in safety. And this will be his name, the Lord our righteousness." Jesus Christ is that righteous branch of David. That is the only perfect king. He is the provider. In John 6, Jesus says, "I am the bread of life. He who comes to me will never go hungry, and he who believes in me will never be thirsty." We don't know what that's like here on earth when we struggle, when our president's trying to make sure that everybody has jobs, everybody has health care, everybody has food. We can't do that perfectly. Jesus Christ says, "I am the bread of life. He who comes to me will never be hungry. He who believes in me will never be thirsty." Jesus is the protector. In 2 Thessalonians says, "The Lord is faithful. He will strengthen and protect you from the evil one." The evil one has no power over those who are protected by Jesus Christ. He is judge. 2 Corinthians says, "For we all must appear before the judgment seat of Christ, that each one may receive what is due for him, the things done while in the body, whether good or bad." We must present ourselves before the judgment seat of Christ. He does these things that kings do, the responsibilities of providing our needs, of protecting us, of being judge even over our lives. But what he does differently that no other king or ruler or supreme authority here on earth can do, what Jesus Christ can do, is he does it selflessly, without any thought for himself, of the power that he wants. Philippians says, "And being found in the appearance of man, Jesus humbled himself and became obedient to death, even death on the cross." Philippians also says, being made in the very nature of God, he didn't just consider equality with God something to be grasped, but made himself nothing, taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness. He gave up his kingship. He gave up his life. He was completely selfless for you, for me, for us, who if we were given that power, we would think about, what can I do with this power? What can I do with this little bit of money? What can I do with this little bit of authority? Who can I use? How can I get ahead in life? We think about ourselves all the time. But Jesus Christ, when given full authority, you were created to be under his authority. He created you so that he could be your king, and then he turns right around and he becomes a servant to you. And he dies on the cross for you. We humans, if we were this king, if we were the ruler, we would be corrupt. We would lie. We would cheat. We would be scoundrels. We would be adulterers. We just open up the sports section and we can see people doing that nowadays. We just open up our hearts and we can see that inside of ourselves. So for those of us who are free Americans, who revel in our freedom and our ability to make free choices, to choose what we want to do with our lives, to choose what we want to do on a Sunday morning, to choose what we want to say. We have freedom of speech. We are privileged. We are loved. We have full stomachs. We have warm places to be in this life. We are without any wants. Yet, do we still want more? Pastor Lockridge asked if you know this king. He asked, do you know him? Do you know Jesus Christ, this king who gave up his whole kingdom so that you who are sinful, so that you who need protection can be protected, so that you who are hungry and don't have your needs met can be provided all your needs? He talked about a king, Jesus Christ, who faces death